In preparation for harvest, I want to remind you guys how to set up your GreenStar 2 2600 displays and your GreenStar 3 2630 displays. So we'll get started here. We're going to start by going to the menu in the bottom right corner, and we are going to hit the GS3 GreenStar button. And once we are in there, we are going to come to the Resources tab, which is G. We'll start there. We're going to go through our client farm field here. We're going to set our client to Horizon Equipment. We're going to set our farm to the home farm, and we're going to set our field to the east field. In this, you can enter new client farm fields like you normally do, but we have them pre-populated in from a setup file that we have done. The next important thing to turn on is our documentation. It is currently set to off. We want to set that to harvest, so we are recording our harvest data, and we want to set our crop season to 2020. We can fill in the operator, but that is optional and does not need to be filled in to record our data. Next, we are going to go to our equipment tab on the right side, H, and we are going to fill this in. Our machine type combine is grayed out, and that is because the display knows what machine we are plugged into, and it auto-populates our machine type as well as our header type. We will fill in our machine model. We have an S600 series combine. And then we got our machine name as an S660, or if we had an S670, we would hit the new and type in our different model. The next thing to check is our recording source is set to auto, since we have a John Deere header connected to the combine, and we know when the head goes up and down, and that is what engages our recording source. The next thing that we need to check on this page is our offsets. So we are looking at the combine right here in front. We'll hit the change offsets, and we need to fill in our A, or our A, B, C, and D for this machine. And we will do that now. Our A is set to 0 because we do not have a lateral offset. Our B is our inline distance from non-steering axle to GPS receiver, which is attached in the photo. And our C is our inline distance from non-steering axle to the connection point, so from our front axle to the front of the feeder house. And then D is our vertical distance from the receiver to the ground. And what we like to do is where the green and yellow meet on the top of the receiver is where we measure down to the ground. Once we are done with that, we hit accept, and everything for the combine is filled out. Next, we will go to the header, and we'll hit on that. Again, the head, since it is a John Deere head and is plugged into the machine, we know we have a compatible head on the machine. We will go in and hit our implement model. We have a 600C corn head, so we hit that, or we enter, if we have a 700C, we enter that model into it, and then our implement name is 612C is the model number of the head. The next thing we need to look for here is our offsets, and again, attached in the photo you'll see where we measure those offsets for, so we will go through now and enter those in. Once we have entered those in, we are going to go down to the bottom section of the page is the widths. We need to confirm that our widths are correct. Our implement width is 12 rows, 30-inch spacings. And if we have, say, an 8-row head, we go in and we hit the change widths button, and we can change it from feet to rows, or we can just do our width for, say, a bean head. Say we have a 25-foot bean head, we go in here and we hit our track spacing to 25. We'll go back here and we'll confirm that we're on 12-row spacing, 30-inch width, and our physical width is 30 foot. Once we have done that, we can turn on the overlap control on the bottom for our mapping as we're coming in and out of our headlands. The next thing we're going to go to on the right side is documentation, the I button, and we need to fill this in. So we need to set our crop type, our brand, and our variety. So we're going to hit change harvest settings, and we're going to put our crop type to corn. Our brand, we're going to enter in new. We're going to put in Pioneer. And then we're going to enter a variety in. Now, if we had done a full setup, false setup, our varieties from our planting would be entered in here already, and we would just be able to pick from them. But we are going to enter 1197 in and hit accept. And we will turn on variety locator. For this variety locator work, we have to create a false setup file using Operations Center to properly load them into display. We cannot just use what was already in the display from planting if we had used this display for planting. From there, the next thing that is important as far as the documentation side is we have 2 tabs across the top here, Harvest and New. That way we will properly document our harvest data. If we have more than 2 tabs up here, say Harvest and Planting and New, we will not be able to document and record the pass as we're going through the field. So we need to make sure that we only have 2, and if we do not have 2 and we have 3, we need to open that tab and hit the disable operation in the bottom left corner of that tab. All right, the next thing we are going to go through is we're going to go back to one of our main home pages here, and you'll notice that we have controller is not yet available on the screen. And the reason is say this display was used for planting or spraying, we have different controllers coming into the display, and it is looking for that planting or sprayer controller. We need to set the display up in Layout Manager to be looking for our harvest specific controllers, and we'll do that here. We'll hit the bottom right menu and we'll go to Layout Manager on the right side, which is the G button, and we have a list of pages here. So for page 1, we are going to go through and edit this to get our harvest settings in. So we're going to hit the red square here. We are going to go to, say, Combine, and we can pick through these 2 to get our combine specific settings, or we can come back to it and we're going to hit the GreenStar, and this is where we can go through one of 13 pages for this specific application, and we are going to find one that we want to use for harvest here. And we'll do our field totals, and that is now entered in, and now we'll go to the blue box there, and we're going to change that as well to another function for harvest that we use frequently. And we'll actually set that to a map so we can see our map as we're going through the field on this page. The next one will change the right side to our grower farm field setup. And once we have done that, we'll hit accept. In that page now we have our harvest specific controller being looked for by the display, and it is giving us our field totals. And you can go through as well and set up additional run pages if you'd like, going through the same function of going to our layout manager and adding or removing pages. Say this page 2 we do not want to have in the layout. We make sure we hit this check mark in the top right, and then we hit accept, and then we only have our one page that we just created. And we can go through and add additional pages as we see fit to what we want for run pages. The last thing we're going to go through here is our mapping to get our yield map on our display as we're going through the field. So we're going to go to the bottom right menu, we're going to hit GS3, and we're going to hit the mapping tab, the A tab. And from here, across the top, we have maps, boundaries, flags, and multi-machine. We want to be on the maps tab. And in the bottom center of the page, there's this map settings. We're going to hit that, and we cannot do anything for our background, but what we are going to do for our foreground is set to coverage only. We are going to set that to our yield. And once we set that to our yield, we're going to hit accept. And you can see on the left side, we have our legend. We can have to bushels to acre, and we can edit our legend according to how our crops are yielding in the field. And once we do that, our map settings, once we do that, our display will map what our yield is as we go through the field, so you can get a visual representation of what the yield is doing for the field. And with that, that concludes what we need to do to get our display set up for harvest on a 2600 and a 2630 display. If you have any questions, feel free to call any of our locations and we can help walk you through it as well.